The broadcast was meant to be another heated exchange, the kind of panel where voices rise but little changes. Jasmine Crockett sat poised, documents stacked neatly in front of her, while commentators speculated about what she might reveal. But few expected what followed, a detailed series of revelations that linked Trump's private business dealings to personal favors, hidden payments, and contracts crafted to keep names and dates away from the public eye. With practiced calm, Jasmine began listing what her team had uncovered: payments routed through offshore accounts, secret settlement deals tied to hush agreements, records suggesting the flow of money stretched into places even longtime observers hadn't guessed. The studio grew still. Each sentence landed heavier than the last, not because of volume, but because of the methodical precision behind it. This wasn't rumor. This was evidence on live television. Elsewhere, Barron Trump, watching the broadcast privately, felt the rising panic that can't be hidden. The story had always been that family stands together, but Jasmine's calm disclosures threatened that shield. In a move both impulsive and desperate, Barron reached for his phone and called the police, claiming threats and defamation against his father. For a moment, it seemed absurd, a son trying to stop a tidal wave with a phone call. Back in the studio, Jasmine remained unaware that police had been contacted. She kept reading invoices, internal emails, and messages that sketched a map of payments meant to keep embarrassing truths out of court. Commentators tried to pivot to suggest maybe she was speculating, but she met each interruption with another document. The power of evidence spoke louder than any denial. Minutes later, word reached the studio. Local police had, in fact, been contacted by Barron Trump. The revelation stunned the set. Producers whispered off camera. Hosts stumbled over words caught between legal caution and live television's unstoppable momentum. Jasmine barely reacted. Instead, she calmly stated that facts remain facts. Whether or not someone calls the cops to silence them, that moment police reportedly on alert. Jasmine still calmly presenting evidence became the viral clip. Viewers watched the quiet audacity of trying to suppress truth with force, and the even quieter refusal to stop speaking. Social media exploded. Memes, edited videos, and commentary flooded timelines, not mocking Barron directly, but spotlighting the desperation the call seemed to reveal. Critics rushed to defend Barron, painting him as protective rather than reactive. But defenders of Jasmine noted that her disclosures weren't personal attacks. They were about public records, financial flows, and the ways power hides behind paperwork. The fact someone so close to Trump reached for law enforcement to stop the discussion only deepened curiosity about what else might lie buried. Jasmine, for her part, stayed focused. When asked live if she feared legal trouble or arrest, she answered plainly, "You don't call the cops on the truth." Her refusal to appear rattled became part of the story, amplifying the sense that she'd come armed not with opinions, but with facts strong enough to withstand intimidation, even from the family she was exposing. What stunned many viewers wasn't just the evidence, but the composure with which it was delivered under sudden legal threat. In that moment, the idea of calling the police on a broadcast felt almost symbolic. The powerful trying to keep secrets by force rather than answer them in public. And Jasmine's refusal to back down turned a moment of attempted silence into one of the loudest truths yet. By the end of the segment, the conversation had shifted. It was no longer about whether Trump had secrets. It was about what lengths those close to him would go to keep them hidden. Jasmine's quiet persistence had turned a single phone call into proof that exposure, once it begins, can't be stopped by fear or by force. In the hours that followed, the incident took on a life of its own. Commentators debated whether Barron's call had any legal standing, or whether it was a moment of raw panic by someone unprepared for the force of documented truth. Meanwhile, the documents Jasmine had revealed were pored over by journalists and legal analysts, each confirming details that pointed to a carefully hidden network of hush payments and private agreements shielded from public view. For Jasmine, the moment cemented something she had long argued, that truth threatens power not because it is loud, but because it is solid. Her refusal to be distracted by the news that police had been called turned into its own statement. The facts remain. no matter how many times someone dials for help to silence them. And in that refusal, she drew a sharp line between fear and principle that resonated far beyond the studio. Barron's action was met with a mix of sympathy and criticism. Some saw a young man protecting his father. Others saw evidence of entitlement, a belief that uncomfortable truths could be erased by authority. Yet whatever the motive, the effect was the same. The attempted suppression turned the spotlight brighter, making millions who hadn't cared suddenly ask, what is so threatening that it deserves a call to the cops? Jasmine's response remained striking in its restraint. She didn't gloat or mock Barron. Instead, she spoke only about the importance of transparency in public life. Documents speak, she said simply, refusing to let the conversation become personal. That choice helped her appear not just as an opponent of Trump, but as an advocate for something broader, that power shouldn't be shielded by silence or fear. By the next morning, clips of the segment had racked up millions of views. The most shared footage wasn't the call itself, but Jasmine's unwavering calm as rumors of police intervention broke around her. That composure under pressure turned what could have been a moment of chaos into proof of resolve. It showed viewers that courage isn't about shouting louder, but about refusing to stop when power threatens consequence. Legal experts weighed in, confirming that nothing Jasmine had shared on air appeared unlawful. The records were real, the payments verifiable, the dates matching known events. Each confirmation undermined claims that the broadcast had crossed a line, and each validation made Barron's call look less like a defense of truth and more like an attempt to bury it. The deeper impact lay in what people took away from the exchange. It wasn't only about Trump's dirty secrets, it was about what happens when someone dares to name them, live in front of millions. The call to the police became proof that exposure hurts the powerful most when it's precise, documented, and impossible to shout down. For Jasmine, the night ended without apology or retreat. She had come to reveal, and she had done so, even under threat. And in doing that, she offered something rare in modern politics, a moment where evidence, rather than anger, drove the conversation forward. Viewers saw that strength doesn't always roar, it can stand quietly, even as the powerful dial for help. In the end, the real confession wasn't in words, but in action, the panicked call that tried to stop truth mid-sentence, and Jasmine Crockett's quiet answer became the moment's most lasting lesson, that the truth doesn't hang up when power picks up the phone.